jump scare. Look how I did that. I got a new camera. Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm so glad that you decided to click on this video. I'm going to be sharing with you guys a lot of fun questions about the books that I've read thus far, the books that I want to read, and I think this is also cool for those of you who are new to my channel. You can kind of see what I like to read, what I want to get into, and I think this can be really fun for both of us. I have a host of questions down here. I didn't know this was a thing. I officially started booktube this year in 2023. I started reading books again in the fall of 2022. So I am still kind of a new reader, but I feel like I've never really talked to you guys about this much. I can do more of an in-depth video soon. I kind of want to do like a Q&A so some of you guys can get to know me better. I wanted to start reading for myself when I started getting back into it, and I created a goal of 30 books to read for the year. Coming from someone who would barely read, barely. I have officially surpassed my goal. That's just so crazy to say. I never thought I would read 30 books in a year alone. So if you ever feel discouraged about seeing how many books people are reading online, I just want to encourage you that everyone goes at their own pace. It takes me a while to read a book, but just try not to compare yourself, because I feel like it's really easy to do when it comes to reading. We celebrate the little things, you know what I'm saying? Since I really started reading in the fall of last year, I have a couple of books that I wanted to include in this mid-year wrap-up. I know it doesn't make sense because it's supposed to start from January to June, like 17th. Is that the middle of the year? I don't know. Hopefully you guys don't mind that. First question is, best book you've read so far in 2023? Can we guess? Can we all guess? I have a couple that I want to show. Okay, I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone, and I have a few of these books that I'm going to show a few times, but the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. This series has my heart. I can't imagine anything topping it this year, to be honest, probably ever again. I just finished the first 3, hoping to get into the rest of this saga because there are definitely a few more books. I think there's 4 more. 4th one's coming out. Or, sorry, technically the 7th. And then there's gonna be another one, so. If you wanna see my reaction, I have a reaction to each one of these. You can go look on my channel. My uncle, he actually told Ian and I about this series because he read the first one. And then Ian, he ended up reading it, fell in love with it. He read it in like just a few days, I think. I think he read all 3 in a week. And then he told me I have to read it because I will be in love with it. And I'm so glad that I did because, well, quite frankly, I am in love with it. This series is lightning in a bottle. You guys know I've said it's like Hunger Games in space, basically. I saw someone online, I think it was on a TikTok, they said Capital and Hunger Games if their children competed in the Hunger Games. So it's like the elite, the top tier, highest in society, if their children were the ones to compete in Hunger Games. That's Red Rising for you. I'm gonna try and be quick because I could talk about Red Rising all day. This is the series that made me truly fall in love with fantasy. That is the ACOTAR series. I love this series so much. It has such a special place in my heart. I binged these books. I read Silver Flames in like 2 days. It was so good. I'm truly obsessed with Sarah J. Maas's writing. This is a fantasy, but there's romance and it's beautifully written. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I will say I read the first one and I fell in love with it, but you gotta keep going. Trust me, you can't stop with the first one because if you love the first one, well, you're gonna love the rest. Let me just put it that way. I think it is a fantastic story. I love the plot. And the political intrigue, so good. Character work is unreal. It's truly beautiful, and there's something just so magical about this series. I will say I am not a spicy reader. I always skip it. Sometimes it does dissuade me.
Multitasking.
It does dissuade me sometimes from a book entirely, especially if it is just constantly spice. And I will say Sarah J Maas, she does have a lot of spice in her books.
And that's how I was able to read Silver Flames so fast, because I basically skipped half of the book.
Aside from that, amazing. I love it. The next book that I freaking loved this year that I read is The Love Hypothesis. I read this back in February and this was the cutest book ever. They go on these coffee dates. There's fake dating, which fake dating I think is one of my favorite tropes in romance. They're scientists in love. This next series is so good. One of my favorites that I read this year. The Inheritance Games series. This is a trilogy right now, but the fourth one's coming out in the fall, I believe. This is a super fun YA mystery. I loved this series so much. I read it in like a few days. It was amazing. And actually my mother-in-law got it for me for Christmas. There's so much that you get out of this series, and the plot twists, they were twisting. And so it's not the safest situation for her, but she has to stay there to inherit the money. Next up, I have Six of Crows. I really liked this book. I was really nervous jumping into it because Leah Bardugo, I always say Leah, her name is Leigh Bardugo. She is an author that's tricky for me. I read Shadow and Bone, I'll talk about that later, but I was nervous to hop into Six of Crows. It impressed me. She really impressed me with her writing, how much she's grown as an author. Believe it or not, I still haven't hopped into Crooked Kingdom, and I have had a lot of people ask me how. I don't know. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Another book that I loved this year was Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is my first book that I've read by her. This is a romance. It was really cute, and to be honest, it didn't feel like just a romance. It felt like so much more. There are so many deeper themes that are talked about throughout this book. I mean, I struggle with, I don't even know if this is a trope, but books that are written in a way to where it gives me so much nostalgia. I relate that to feeling melancholy for some reason. So for me, sometimes these books are a little hard to read because it kind of gets me in my feels a little bit, you know. I really loved this writing though. It had that feeling for me, the nostalgia, because it's a then and now timeline. You really reflect on the past. I am truly obsessed with this friend group. I just loved all the different subplots and the other themes that were discussed in this book. I think that was honestly my favorite part, more than the romance, I would say, because you're also exploring the main character, her friendships, and how throughout the years your friendships can look different. Sometimes you go through seasons where we're not as close. Okay, I'm going to very quickly talk about these next two so we can move on. But Love in Other Words by Christina and Lauren. This book was so good. I actually didn't end up giving it 5 stars. I don't know why, because it feels like a 5-star read to me, but that's, for some reason, romances are really hard for me to give 5 stars because I am such a fantasy girly that I feel like something's always missing there, and I know that's so unfair to compare the genres in that way. I just struggle with it. So I think for romance, this is a 5-star. Absolutely. Wow, this book is filled with heartbreak. This is Friends to Lovers. I love this couple so much. I think they complement each other very well, and you see their dynamic throughout the years. This is another Then and Now timeline. So cute. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, so I'm not gonna get into it too much. Lastly, for this question, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This was, I think, my first YA mystery, and I loved it. I thought it was so good, and it was very captivating. I totally was zeroed in the entire time. So if you are wanting to get into mystery, I would recommend this for sure because it's easy, but also I wasn't guessing what was gonna happen. Even when I did guess, I was like never right. Best sequel you've read so far in 2023. Okay, I have 3. The first one is Golden Sun. This book was so freaking good. It absolutely exceeded all my expectations. People generally like Golden Sun, I believe, the best out of the series. I couldn't imagine how I would like this one more than Red Rising. It just didn't seem possible, but then reading it, it amps things up so much. The stakes are so high. Instead of just exploring Mars, you start exploring the solar system. The next one, A Court of Mist and Fury. This book, I can't go into it. For those of you that have not read A Court of Mist and Fury, I am not going to go into it, but trust me, you have to get to the second one. The things that were happening in this book, the tropes that I was reading about, I was like, is this okay? Like, I don't think you can do this in a book. I don't think an author can do this. I don't think it's allowed. No, it's allowed, and it happened, and I'm so glad it did. New releases that I haven't read yet that I want to. I think this is the newest one for me. This is Fourth Wing. I am so excited to hop into this. Look how beautiful the sprayed edges are. Oh my gosh, it is such a stunning book. I just truly want to read about dragons. It sounds so good. Yeah, Fourth Wing, I really want to get to this, hopefully like tomorrow. Okay, the next one that I really want to read that was just released was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I have not read anything from her, but I know she is an author that is truly loved. I think the love interest is a doctor. I've also heard that this explores a lot of deeper themes, like I think maybe social anxiety or some kind of anxiety, I think, in that way. And so I'm excited to read that. Oh yeah, isn't this in dual POV? I'm pretty sure this is dual POV. So I am really, really excited to read this, especially as my first Abby Jimenez book. And if I love this, I want to read some of her other stuff as well. I will say, reading the back of it, it didn't seem like something that I would usually reach for or love. So because of the internet and their love for this book, I decided, you know what, I'll give it a try. The next one that I would love to read this fall is Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell. This is a cozy cottagecore romance fantasy. It's also YA and it sounds super cute, and I don't think the stakes are super high. I think it's just a fun fantasy and I would love to read it. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. The first one that I'm probably like the most excited about is the sixth book in the Red Rising saga. I am really, really excited to read that one. It's called Lightbringer. I think it comes out next month in July, so I'm super excited to read that. But that means that I need to read Iron Gold and Dark Age before it comes out. These are actually really funny because I haven't even read the first one, but I'm anticipating the rest, and I'll kind of explain why. One that I'm really looking forward to is A Curse for True Love. This is going to be the third installment of Once Upon a Broken Heart. I have actually not read this book yet, and I've heard the second book, The Ballad of Never After, is really good. But the reason why I haven't read it yet is, one, because A Curse for True Love comes out in the fall, and I feel like I'm going to love this trilogy so much. But also Caraval is another trilogy that's within the same world, and it feels very, I feel like it would be a fun fall read. So I've been holding off on reading all 6 books in the fall. I don't know if I can keep waiting though, because I've been waiting for such a long time. I mean, look at this map. Okay, the next one I am so excited to get my hands on. It's The Brothers Hawthorne. And this is going to be the 4th book of the Inheritance Game series. I don't know if this is going to conclude it. I just love this series so much, although I do feel like it ended off on a really good note. Like, I'm happy with how it ended. I hope it is as good as the first 3 of the Inheritance Game series, but I'm still willing to pick it up because I just love the trilogy so much. Next question is the book that surprised me the most. I don't think this is going to be a shocker to anyone, but I would have to go with Red Rising. This is actually sci-fi. I don't know if I mentioned that. I typically would not pick up sci-fi. It's not a genre that I am usually drawn to, but I decided to give it a shot because of the amazing things I have heard about it from my uncle and from my husband Ian. Thank goodness I picked it up because it is amazing. I didn't think I would be as in love with it as I am, so truly like the biggest shock ever. And now it's kind of opened me up to to a whole new genre and I'm willing to try different things. I feel like before I was kind of content where I was at, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it definitely challenged me to branch out a little bit. My favorite new author. Okay, there's clearly a theme here, but the author of Red Rising, Pierce Brown. I am truly obsessed with his prose. I think he has a beautiful way of writing. He writes about love and violence and power and greed. I think one thing that I really appreciate about his writing is it is constantly filled with nonstop action. It has compelling and like thrilling politics. The character work is absolutely unreal. I feel so attached to all of these characters, but he also, as an author, doesn't sugarcoat anything. He is going to write things so raw and it's going to hurt. If you can make me cry within the first 40 pages, that's impressive to me. I am absolutely going to auto buy everything that Pierce Brown puts out. Love Sarah J Maas too. Up until, honestly, I picked up one of his books. She was my favorite author. I just love how magical and beautiful her writing is. And then Pierce Brown, he quickly became a competitor. Biggest disappointment. A lot of you guys are going to hate this, but the book that I have been disappointed by the most this year is easily Things We Never Got Over. Knox, the worst love interest I have ever read. I just could not stand him. I thought he was just being a brute. It was just unwarranted. Like, he was just rude. And I feel like there's a difference in Grumpy Sunshine and just being a jerk. Another disappointment for me was actually Shadow and Bone. I read Shadow and Bone before I read Six of Crows. I was nervous reading Six of Crows because of how much I disliked Shadow and Bone. It had a strong plot, but I just got so bored throughout the series. I felt like I just didn't like it at all. But I didn't like Alina, the main character. I didn't like, what's the guy? Oh, Mal. But I did like the plot. I thought it was interesting, but it just didn't hold up for me. So I soft DNF'd like the last teensy bit of the last book, Ruin and Rising. Book that made you cry. I have to say books that made me cry. I have 3. First one being Love in Other Words. I was not expecting the plot twist that happens at the end of this book. It was so devastating. The other books that made me cry was a part of the ACOTAR series. To be honest, I don't know if I cried during A Court of Mist and Fury, but the ones that I do know I cried was A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one made me cry, and A Court of Silver Flames. Oh, the end of this one, it made me cry. It was so good. Okay, once again, we're not going to be surprised. I cried during all 3. Books that made you happy. Okay, the first one is a YA romance. It is so cute, better than the movies. This one was just so wholesome. It's a teenage romance. It was so cute, and I'm pretty sure I was smiling the whole time through while reading this. I love Lynn Painter. It truly, this book just felt like a coming of age movie. It didn't feel like enemies to lovers, but it felt more like friends to lovers. But although I think at the end she says, our trope is enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers, it's our trope. Books bomb. Oh my gosh, there's so many good quotes. One thing that I love about Lynn Painter as an author is she has movie quotes at the beginning of the chapters, which was really fun because it made me want to go watch a lot of the movies that she had quotes from. This was a fun one to annotate, and I was just so giddy the whole way through. The other 2 that made me so happy was Red Rising once again and ACOTAR. You know it's a good series when it's been months and you still think about them, like they're all you can think about. And then once again, The Love Hypothesis. I know I've already shown a lot of these books that you can't stop thinking about. I feel so bad repeating myself, but once again, Red Rising and A Court of Thorns and Roses. Most beautiful book cover you've bought so far this year. My husband Ian actually got these for me for Valentine's Day. I'm truly in love with them. I have never read the Harry Potter series, and he got me the whole series because I want to read it in the fall time. When you put all the spines together, it forms a beautiful picture of Hogwarts, which, I mean, are you kidding me? But not only that, the covers are stunning. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? In the back of the books have a quote and then some more illustrations. So pretty. I really want to go through all of them, but I'll just show you the front covers because we could be here all day. Next up, it's kind of within that same vein. My husband and I love Orbit books. They just have the best covers. I would have to say, I think it's so cool how they did the Witcher saga. All the spines put together, oh my gosh. It creates a picture of this wolf. I haven't read The Witcher. I think I should say that. I've been thinking about it a little bit. I don't know, my husband, he likes the series, but I keep going back and forth. So you guys let me know if you think I should read it and if you think I'd like it. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one. I didn't even know that this was like a controversy until someone commented on one of my videos. The new covers of Throne of Glass, I didn't know that most people hate the covers, the new ones. I love the new covers so much. So I have the novella to the Throne of Glass series. This is the Assassin's Blade. I love this cover. I don't know the significance yet of this cover. I'm sure I'll understand it more when I read it. I just think they're so cool and I really like them, so. Book that was out of your comfort zone. Once again, I'm gonna have to go with Red Rising. Last question, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I have a few. This is kind of gonna be a speed round. Iron Gold, Dark Age, and Lightbringer by Pierce Brown to finish what is out so far of the Red Rising saga. I would love to read the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. I've heard amazing things from my husband about this series, and he says that it's totally up my alley, so I'd love to read this at some point this year. Beach Read by Emily Henry because I love her writing and I want to get into more of her books. I really want to get into Crooked Kingdom to finish up the Six of Crows duology. I have to. Fourth Wing. Do I need to say any more? Dragons, fantasy. I think Enemies to Lovers. I really want to read Caraval, this trilogy, and Once Upon a Broken Heart once the third book comes out. So read both of these trilogies since they're in the same world. I love Harry Potter, the movies, and the books are always better. So I have to read the books this fall. I would really like to read Crescent City at the end of this year because I think the third one comes out in January, so I would love to read it maybe in December, or maybe I'll hold off till the beginning of January. Throne of Glass, I have to read that series. I really want to. I just need to set aside time and actually do it. I want to read Daughter of No Worlds and Serpent and the Wings of Night. These are both fantasies that I really want to read. I would love to read The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. This is a fantasy as well. I have heard amazing things about it. Then to branch out a little bit, I would love to read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This is considered a mystery thriller. I am so nervous to read it though because thrillers are not my thing. We'll see. That is it for my mid-year wrap up. Let me know where you're at as far as your reading goals this year. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.